schedule. Let's get you to college basketball now. Big one tonight in the Big Ten inside Mackey Arena. Number 20 Purdue riding a 4-game skid. The first 4-game losing streak, all confirmed, I believe, for the Boilermakers since 2018-19 or 2019-20. A long time in West Lafayette, Indiana, as they host UCLA for the first time in nearly 2.5 decades. Donnie, only 13 meetings between these two schools in their men's basketball history, but a lot of commonalities. John Wooden, the greatest basketball coach to ever live, the champion of 10 national titles in Westwood, also the first ever 3-time consensus All-American at the D1 level in men's college hoops. He played for Purdue. He has a statue outside of Mackey Arena. So some similarities between these two storied programs tonight. 5.5-point spread in favor of the Boilers. Total 139.5. What do you like tonight inside Mackey Arena?
Yeah, that line's dropping. Was 140.5 this morning, a little bit earlier, now dropping to 139.5. And I do agree with that. You take a look at both of these defenses, not great by any means. The offenses are decent, but also both of these teams will let you shoot the three-point shot. 16th in conference play, Purdue, out of 18 teams that letting you shoot the three. And then you take a look at 18 out of 18 UCLA. However, when you look at the style components here, 12th in volume from three-point range, UCLA. 11th in volume from three-point range, Purdue. So it's not as if you have like one of those top 2 or top 3 teams. It's like, good, you want to give us as many three-point shots as you want, we'll take every one that we can get. When you look at the components here of who's backing it up, both of these teams pretty stingy on defense inside the arc. And the biggest number here, when you just look at an average length of possession on offense, usually the quicker the team, the quicker the pace, a la Alabama. That's not the case here. 16th in average possession on offense, UCLA. 15th in Purdue. I don't think we get a fantastic pace in this basketball game with three-point shots that, yes, both of these teams can make them, but they don't like to take a lot about them. If we're going to say both of these teams shoot 35% or below from three-point range, this game is going to stay under. Purdue not looking in good form. You saw over the second half of that Big Ten schedule, playing much better basketball than the first half here. I would sort of look UCLA, but for me, it would be the under in this game is probably the best look.
Yeah, DRS, I can't fault it. UCLA under in 6 of their last 7. Mick Cronin's teams still always rely on the defensive end of the floor. Confirmed, the Boilermakers' first 4-game slide since the end of the 2019-2020 season. If there was an NCAA tournament that year, Purdue probably does not get in. 16-15 that year, just 9-11 in the Big Ten. DRS, it's been a very long time for a team that finished as the national runner-up a year ago. They have dropped 4 games in a row. Matt Painter meeting with his players individually this week in West Lafayette. Trey Kaufman-Renn, one of the leaders, one of the best front court players in Big Ten basketball, calling a players-only meeting, understanding the importance of this tail end of the regular season for Purdue to play their best basketball into Indianapolis in the Big Ten tournament and, of course, into the Big Dance. If you look at UCLA's road record this year, and especially against the number, it's not all that bad. 4-4 ATS. But UCLA out of the Pacific time zone 4 times in Big Ten play. They are 0-4 straight up. And in that span, DRS, just 1-3 against the spread. They did keep it close against Illinois a couple of weeks ago in Champaign. But that's really it in terms of what UCLA has been able to do outside of that Pacific time zone. And a big game tonight for both teams that stand at 11-6 in conference play. Maryland also 11-6 after the heartbreaking defeat against Michigan State earlier this week in College Park. Those 3 teams tied right now, Donnie, for what would be the 4th spot in the Big Ten standings. It would be the 4th and final double bye in the Big Ten tournament. Michigan State, Michigan, and Wisconsin all in front. We'll talk about this weekend in college basketball. And that includes tomorrow, which is Saturday. What's the date? March 1st. Big day. 2025. The alarms are set.
Zeno didn't know.
Zeno did not know. John Rothstein did, as did Donnie Rightside. An ASUN men's conference tourney preview. The first conference tournament. Donnie breaks it down next. Tomorrow is March. This is the final day of February, March Eve. which only intensifies the chaos and madness in college basketball, although we have seen our fair share throughout this week. Donnie, let's break down the first conference tournament at the mid-major level, at the D1 level in men's college basketball. Set to begin on Sunday. That would be in the Atlantic Sun. The ASUN Conference Tournament bracket is out. 12 teams in this league. Only 10 qualify for the conference tournament. And our two top seeds, that would be Lipscomb and North Alabama, have the opening round bye. The number one seed is Lipscomb, a team that Donnie bet on this week and did cash a wager. Donnie, Lipscomb and North Alabama, both 14-4 in conference play, both 22-9 straight up this year, and both split the regular season series matchup, both winning by double digits in their own home venues, and yet Lipscomb is a hefty favorite to win the conference tournament, and of course, that automatic berth to the big dance. At the mid-major level, this is the beauty of it. Conference tournaments, it's great. You're the one seed. It's great that you won a regular season crown. But what truly matters is that automatic bid to the NCAA tournament in the field of 68. How do you evaluate those ASUN tourney odds?
You take a look at the ASUN tourney odds and you start with Lipscomb. They are the best team in conference play. You just look at their ratings here. Number one on offense and number two on defense, do everything well. But the one thing that sometimes can get you in trouble, not saying that it will, the slowest tempo team, Ben, in the ASUN. So limited possessions doesn't mean you're running teams out of the gym with multiple, like, hey, we're down 6 late. We're going to run our offense and see how it gets through. They should win it. But there are some other teams that you want to take a look at, particularly with Jacksonville. Because how do you win these things, Ben? Typically in a gym that is not yours, right? You want to play great defense. We know it's number one in defensive efficiency in conference play. It is Jacksonville. But also understand this. They're not a great offensive team. With their efficiency, 8 out of 12. So, Donnie, I can't trust that. But you know what they're the best at doing in conference play? Percentage-wise from three-point range. So you're going to give me a team that plays great defense and shoots the lights out from three-point range, you're always going to have a chance. Now, sometimes you want to take a look at those extracurriculars here, Ben, that I talk about. It's like, well, how could they have an advantage? You take a look at the final 6 games of the season for Jacksonville. They lost 4 of those games, which included, 3 games, which were in a row. North Alabama, Florida Gulf Coast, and North Florida, before beating Eastern Kentucky and Stetson on the way out. So you say to yourself, one of the best players in conference play is Robert McCray. He's healthy. He'll be there, which is great. But you take a look at a big 6'9", Stephon Payne, who's missed 6 straight games as one of those bigs that can block shots and rebounds. There's no guarantee that he's going to play in this tournament, but with missing those 5 to 6 games, he was shown last week getting a little bit better at practice, still wearing a boot, but there's the appearance that he can play. I'm not saying they can win this tournament, but if we're taking a look at the price point being minus 155 of Lipscomb, they should win it. How about a 14-1 price on a really good basketball team that might get a key cog back for this tournament sooner than later, hopefully? That's the way I look at it here. But Lipscomb is the best team, but there's a couple teams that can challenge, and maybe it's Jacksonville that can do that.
The Dolphins are, DRS, one of the best defensive teams in this conference. You mentioned Lipscomb and the pace they play at. They try to control tempo. They make it very difficult to pass the ball effectively against them. Get your sets, get your offensive schemes started. It makes sense to see Lipscomb as that minus 155 favorite. Based on tiebreakers, they got the advantage, of course, to be the number one overall seed in this tournament. So the Bisons have a great opportunity, it would seem, to get to the biggest of all the dances. But I saw this stat from our guy, John Rothstein, yesterday. Just a reminder, 32 conference tournaments, including those at the high major level. Only 12 of the 32 a season ago were won by the team that won the regular season conference crown. And at the mid-major level, that means everything. At the high major level, if you have a spoiler in a conference tourney, that means a bid stealer, which would make the bubble harder to come by. In those at-large berths, harder to come by as well. It is the beauty of this time of year. Donnie, the round of 64, Thursday and Friday, to me, the greatest days on the sporting calendar. I still stand by that always. But there are some, and I think it is hard to argue, during conference tournament week, whether at the mid-major level with the addition of regular season matchups coming to a close at the high major level, or during high major conference tournament week, that would argue the chaos you see because of all of the stakes involved is as good as you would see in the NCAA tournament, and if it trails, only by a very slim margin.
Yes, and by the way, for players like me, as I call it, as a handicapper, this is my favorite week because I'm still getting, like versus like competition is exactly what you look forward to. Teams that know each other, understand it, and you have hardcore numbers that go against it, not taking a look at, hey, how is it going to be to do Duke, Illinois, two separate conferences meeting up. You saw that game. It was crazy, a 40 to 50-point victory. But for me, I love this week. And also, it almost is like a practice run for you. Not to pick games, but hey, this is awesome. Midway through the week on a Wednesday, you are getting college basketball games the same way you're going to get them in the opening round of the tournament. I love this week. Conference championships the next 2 weeks, everything on the line with bids to go. These kids love this part of the year, and it's a fun time to watch.
Absolutely so. And Donnie, and to Donnie's point, when you get to the big dance, it's such a focus on all of these games. And there's 68 teams, and we whittle it down to 64 by that opening round on Thursday. But the odds makers know that. The lines are sharp all week long during conference tournament week. Some advantages to be had. Donnie, let's take a look at the Saturday slate. Again, penultimate regular season weekend at the high major level in a flurry of great games. A top 10 tilt, number 5, Tennessee, number 6, Alabama tomorrow in Knoxville. A top 20 tilt, Kentucky plays host inside Rupp Arena to number 1 Auburn. Like, come on, man. Texas A&M hosts the snap, a 3-game slide. Florida looking to bounce back after a road loss to Georgia, which ended their own 6-game win streak. Iowa State, are they healthy? Will Keyshawn Gilbert play? They host Arizona. Kansas, Texas Tech. Vandy, Missouri. Donnie, of those games, which is your favorite?
Yeah, by the way, Auburn and Kentucky is going to be great because also I bring this up where Duke doesn't have a great game against Florida State. But if you're looking for the player of the year, the Wooden Award, let's just say Auburn goes down to Kentucky and Flag is a great game. Do we see that get closer? Or is it a wrap where Auburn goes into Kentucky, Broom plays well, sayonara, best player, give him his award?
Janai Broom right now a minus 250 favorite. Will Donnie be proven correct? Might they need to change things in the fog at Allen Fieldhouse if Kansas loses at home tomorrow against Texas Tech? Donnie, have a great weekend, my friend. We round out this show with more college basketball next. Live right here on the early line on SportsGrid. Again, what a weekend ahead in college basketball. It is the eve of March. It is the final day of February. Great games on this Friday. A lot at stake as everybody in the Sun Belt is playing, by the way. James Madison trying to get back to the tournament, trying to win the Sun Belt tournament for a second consecutive year, holding on to a narrow lead for the top spot in the conference standings. Big one for JMU tonight as well. As we go through Saturday once again, of course, you look at the slate, so much SEC action available. Vandy, a huge quad one opportunity at home against Missouri after the road win earlier this week in College Station against Texas A&M. It is as good as it gets at the top of the board. Knoxville and in Knoxville, Tennessee and Alabama, Auburn and Kentucky inside Rupp Arena in a game we expect to see a ton of points. The odds not out just yet for these games, but a reminder for everybody. Ken Palm has his projections, so you can anticipate based on home floor advantage what we are going to see. Florida probably going to be a hefty favorite to bounce back from the road loss in Athens against UGA earlier this week against A&M, who is riding now a 3-game slide. Auburn is going to be a road favorite in Lexington against Kentucky. And that total at least in the mid-160s, if not approaching 170. You have one of the best offensive teams in the country in Alabama against one of the best defensive teams in the country in Tennessee. What wins out tomorrow in Knoxville? That game 4 p.m. Eastern time. And again, both Missouri and Vandy hoping to add up a quad one victory in that final game there. Keep an eye on the availability report for Texas Tech. Is Chance McMillan back in the fold? If so, can they head into Lawrence and hand KU the Jayhawks' 8th Big 12 loss? That would be the first time that Kansas had back-to-back 8-loss seasons in conference play since I don't even know when, but their first 8-loss season prior to last year in Big 12 action, or at least conference action, was in the late 80s. Let's get you to Sunday. All that we have at stake as well. A really good one in the Big Ten that will have huge implications on that regular season championship race within the conference. Michigan State, after the thrilling win in College Park, courtesy of Trey Holloman, back at home inside the Brez against number 11, Wisconsin. It's number 8, MSU. Number 11, Wisconsin. Michigan State will be a home favorite in East Lansing. These are the two best cover teams, by the way, in Big Ten action so far this season. Both really good against the number. Michigan looks to stay in the Big Ten title race. Currently tied with Michigan State, at least record-wise, 14-3 atop the Big Ten. The Wolverines have been winning some very close affairs. 9 consecutive victories by 4 points or fewer. 15 total games this year for the Maize and Blue. Decided by 4 points or fewer. 11-4 straight up in those matchups. Illinois trying to bolster the resume. The Illini should be an NCAA tournament team. Big one in the American. Memphis on the road in Birmingham against the Blazers. The AAC title race has not been decided yet. It has in the Missouri Valley, but Drake making sure they're playing their best ball, entering Arch Madness, one of the great mid-major tournaments that starts next week in St. Louis. We told you yesterday about a huge game within Conference USA. Liberty got the job done against Jacksonville State. Now, the Gamecocks did cover as a 7.5-point road underdog against the Flames, but Liberty gets a 4-point win. Liberty now a half-game lead for that top spot in the regular season crown in CUSA. If they win out, they're good. They take on the Owls of Kennesaw State on Sunday afternoon. And not exactly a barn burner in the Big 12 at the bottom of your list. Kansas State and Colorado. Again, a couple of the stakes available. In the SEC, Auburn, 2-game lead over Alabama. Those rivals end the year against each other to end out the regular season next weekend. Again, just a 2-game lead for the Tigers, and they're a road favorite tomorrow in Lexington. Alabama likely a road underdog against Tennessee in Knoxville. But Alabama, 4 outright wins as a dog this year. Florida, 3 games behind Auburn. In the ACC, Duke, still a minus 750 favorite, but Clemson and Louisville, not all that far behind. We told you the stakes for Big Ten action this weekend as well. Houston already has claimed at least a share of their second consecutive Big 12 regular season championship. It is March tomorrow. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll talk to you on Monday, live right here on the early line at 8 a.m. Eastern.